Hola mi gente, ¿cómo estás? How you doing? How y'all living? So I am here today to talk to you about the shit show called my life. Welcome. Um, so let's go through what's been going on. So, the last few days there's been some things going on in the family. I wouldn't say that it was anything like as of serious, like that was serious, but it has been a little frustrating. I feel that the family meeting really resolved anything. I guess Kevin felt heard in the meeting. We just kind of were like feeling awkward sitting at this table that we used to sit at all together as a family, which we haven't done in years. It's been 3 of us sitting at that table on holidays and things of that nature. So we haven't sat together at the table in a while. So it did feel a little like awkward to me, but that's neither here nor there. Um, then I was taking out the trash probably a couple hours after that, and then my ex was outside and he was like, hey, do you want to take a ride with me? And I was like, no thank you. So then he proceeds to like pretty much force me into talking to him outside. We talk about the same thing that we've been talking about, the nail in the same coffin, for probably 2 years now, which I'm tired of talking about. And we talk about it again, even though we just had a family meeting. And he's like, hey, did you talk to our daughter about you know, my role in the family? Fuck, my battery. And I was like, I think, you know, obviously they understood that when they were younger I stayed in the house, I did the in-the-house stuff, and their dad did the outside of the housework. And I was like, that doesn't negate from the fact that you needed to have a relationship with them, like outside of provider, because that doesn't do anything. And he's like, I never had a relationship with my dad, and you know, I'm trying to get a relationship with them now that they're adults. And they're like, we tried this, and this is what they said at the meeting too, was like, yo, we tried to facilitate a relationship with you when we were younger, and it just didn't work out that way. You didn't seem like you wanted a relationship with us. And I told him, like, you treated us like we were work, like we were essentially the thing that you were coming home to that you didn't want to. It was like clocking into a job that you didn't want to have. However, you were the one that asked for this job. I didn't ask you to marry me. I didn't ask you to stay. I didn't ask for any other things that I was working towards with you. I just was trying to keep it all together after you asked for it. I don't think he knew what he was asking for when he asked for it, but that's neither here nor there. Either he asked for it, he got it. I tried to do what I could, it didn't work. And I have to be okay with the fact that, I mean, I've been okay with it, but I had to learn through the process that it's okay that I'm not for him. Before, it was like a really painful thing for me to come to the point of realizing, but somewhere between 5 to 10 years I was like, I'm not for you. I'm not what makes you happy. I can't make you happy, because no matter how much I give myself, no matter how much I don't take care of myself, no matter how much I don't do for myself, and I pour all that into you, you're still not happy. And I wish I would have saved myself years and tears and all kinds of stuff by pouring into myself, because that's something that is an attractive quality for myself. Like, I look at myself in the mirror now and I look at, y'all, they don't make batteries like they used to. Anyways, I didn't realize how pouring into myself was a very attractive quality for myself, because the minute I started giving to myself, I started loving myself more and seeing myself differently when I look in the mirror. The reflection that I saw in the mirror prior to pouring into myself was very, I didn't like myself. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like anything. But now I look at myself as a different person. And what I realize is, no matter how much you pour into somebody else, if they aren't for you, there's no way to make them for you. You can't become something that somebody else wants you to be in order to make them happy, because they were going to be happy with you, they were going to be happy with you, but he wasn't ever going to be happy with me, and that's okay. But trying to force something that wasn't gonna happen anyways is where I went wrong, because I kept thinking the more I poured into him, the more I did for him, the more I showered him with love, he would be happy. But he wasn't gonna be happy with me regardless, because I'm not for him, and that's okay. He's not for me either. So coming to that conclusion was a moment of peace for me, because then I realized I can pour all the energy that I was giving to someone that could care less about me into myself, and that made me a lot happier, because making me happy is something that I didn't know how to do or what it took to make me happy. So I thought And what I was taught was sacrifice was love. So you have to sacrifice of yourself to be able to love another being fully. But then RuPaul told me something. Felt like years and years and years ago, as I was watching seasons and seasons and seasons of RuPaul, it was like, how the hell you gonna love somebody? What are you saying? If you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else, or something like that, to that effect. And I didn't understand it. I listened to it, I would say, at the end of every episode, but I didn't actually take it in until my separation. And I'm like, I totally don't love myself, and I'm up here trying to pour love into somebody when I don't even know essentially what that is to give. And so I'm pouring and pouring and pouring into this cup, and this is a never-ending well, okay? And this is the same thing that I was telling him when we were having one of our talks, was like, it's a bottomless pit that I keep pouring into, and no matter how much I put in and put in and put in, it would never fill up to the top. There was never going to be enough. Never, ever going to be enough. So it was just at some point that I stopped pouring, and I realized, like, hey, if I gave to something that gave back to me, like a flower, and say I poured into this flower and it grew into something like a beautiful sunflower, my favorite flower, and which I actually killed the other day. Yeah, it's still my favorite flower, but yeah. Yeah. Anyways, so I pour into it, and I take care of it, and I nurture it, and it receives my love, and it turns into a big, beautiful flower. But if I'm pouring into weeds, they just become bigger weeds that are nuisances. You gotta yank those mugs out, and then they keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger, but it really is just a pain in the ass in the end. So when looking at relationships, you have to look at what you're investing into. So I spent years investing into unhappiness because I wasn't happy, he was not happy either. So I was pouring, giving my heart, my soul, my energy, everything to something that was going to be a weed to me. No matter what I did, no matter how I did it, no matter what happened, it was going to be a weed. So I kept pouring, pouring, pouring into this thing, and I'm looking at this massive, giant weed, and I'm like, is a weed a flower? I mean, it's still a living, thriving thing, and so should I still keep nurturing it? Because I mean, it is growing, whereas this plant has died off next to me. After a while, I plucked the weed, and as a matter of fact, metaphorically and actually, I like literally did it yesterday. I plucked this huge ass weed that was in front of the house. It was massive. It was almost the same size as me. So I realized that we spend a lot of time holding on to things that are technically damaging to us, and I have no idea what I was fighting for. Maybe it was an idea of something that I was holding on to. Maybe it was a hope of something that I was holding on to, but I have no idea what I was fighting for, no idea what I was investing in, because it was just, I was unhappy. And the reality is, if I would have ended it at any point of the times that I wanted to end it, which was essentially all throughout my relationship, I just wanted to end it, like, I would have been upset and I would have been sad for a short period of time. But if I continued on investing the way that I was in the relationship, I was going to be miserable no matter what. So I was essentially pouring into the rest of my life being miserable and fighting for the rest of my life to be miserable. How stupid, right? Hindsight is always 20/20, let me tell you. But yeah, essentially I was pouring into a cup that would remain empty. It had a hole in it, faulty bottom. I wasn't going to get anywhere with that, and I was giving time, energy, effort to nothing. I was crying, sleepless nights, emotionally eating all kinds of shit, damaging myself, fucked up heart, all kinds of stuff, massive anxiety, everything, just to be unhappy anyways. All that sacrifice was to make myself miserable. So when you're looking at a relationship and you really take a step back, what are you gripping so tight to hold on to? Is it something that you guys go through normal storms and you come out on the other side and there's been more happy times than sad? Or have you just been sad the whole time and you're just gripping onto something because it's familiar to you? We always stick to the devil we know because we're scared of what's on the other side. And it's like, what is on the other side? Is it going to be worse than what I had? And we always look at it from the relationship standpoint, like, oh, well, I mean, I know him and I'm familiar with how he treats me, even though it's like shit and he treats me like dog fucking dung or whatever. But I'm familiar with it, so I already know what to expect. On the other side of it, if you don't look at it from the relationship standpoint of it, is a little bit of sadness, a little bit of unhappiness, but you can pour into yourself and make yourself so much happier. And that's what's essentially on the other side, is you being happy. So it's okay that you cry at night. It's okay that you're sad over something ending, because even if it was bad, an ending is an ending, and you still have to mourn, and you still have to, you know, go through the process of grieving the end of that thing, and that's normal. We're all here for healing, okay? So yeah, go ahead and heal yourself and go through the motions of being sad, and all of that's normal. Like, please understand that you don't have to feel like you have to be over it because somebody treated you bad, and you have to be like, yeah, I don't like them, I don't care about them, I don't anything them, like, you know, they're dead to me. Like, you don't have to feel that way. You can feel sad, and that's normal. However, the other side of that sadness, which could take a month, maybe not even, maybe a little longer, is happiness, because you're going to learn to love yourself and pour into yourself and value yourself. And that shit is amazing when I looked at it from the standpoint of not looking at what is the next relationship going to be like, but what am I going to be like after this? That's like the real deal right there, is essentially looking at life after and what I'm gonna look like. It made me think of contributions in relationships. I briefly spoke to someone while a video that I deleted was up about love languages. This person's significant other, spouse, wanted to get more in depth with love languages with one another. I think it's a beautiful thing. So when it comes to love languages, I have to say this, and I think a lot of us make a mistake with love languages. You're like, hey, what's your love language? They're like, acts of service. What's yours? Gifts, right? But the way we receive love would be acts of service, right? So a lot of times we tend to give to our partner in the same way that we receive love, but that's not their love language. So sometimes it can be taken as like dismissive, or like they don't appreciate, when that's just not how they receive love. And I don't think there's malintent by it, but it's just not how the love is received. We have to be intentional with ourselves and with others, and when we show love to them, we have to show it in a way that they understand love. So if they tell you their love language is words of affirmation, make sure you affirm that to your partner. If your language is acts of service and then they're giving you words of affirmation, appreciate it, but explain and understand that the way you receive love is different. Another thing would be value. So we all have things that we deem valuable in life, right? Mine is time. I feel very passionate about time. I know it sounds crazy to some people, but time is valuable to me, which is why I don't really spend a lot of time with other people, because my time to me is very valuable. So I want to be happy in those moments. But let's say the time is not your thing and you're my significant other. Just because it's not of importance to you doesn't mean that you shouldn't show importance to your significant other, right? Because whatever my partner's value is, even if it's not important to me, I want to make sure that my partner knows it's important to me now because it's important to them. So if they are like, well, I don't know, yeah, quality time is their thing and it's just not my thing because I enjoy my alone time, I will make sure to give effort to that because I know that's important to them, you know? I did have somebody that was very, very adamant about things that I said a lot of reassurance was needed all the time. It's exhausting sometimes. But I made sure to make sure I gave those types of validations to the person so that they knew and understand that I cared for them. And although it was exhausting, you know, it was my way of showing that because it was important to them, it was important to me too. Because essentially things that are important to our significant others will become important to us, or should become important to us, because we care and love them. If you disregard it, it comes off as disrespectful. So we do have to make the time to say, like, well, maybe this is not as important to me. Like, it's like, on my scale of things, might be at the bottom, but to your partner, if it's at the top, then you do have to make that thing important too, because it's just not fair to treat something that they feel is important as if it's nothing. Vice versa. Make sure it's reciprocated on the other end. You know, I can give my parents as an example. My dad is an outdoorsy guy. He likes to do things that are outside. Me too. My mom is more of an indoor person. My mom essentially doesn't too many times budge to give my dad what he wants. And my dad, although he just goes along and goes with the flow, he's not the type to put up a fight for anything that he wants. And I'm not saying put up a fight, Dad, if you see this, but what I am saying is it should be reciprocated, as much effort. So if one time you go to the movies because that's what somebody likes, the next time you do something that's outdoors because the other person likes it. Now I want to say they did reach a very good, like a beautiful milestone. I think it was my dad's birthday and they did go to the fair together. My mom is not outdoors. She doesn't like crowds. My mom is with crowds all day. She doesn't like crowds. She's outside of her house all day, so she wants to be in the house when she's done. But they did go to the fair together, and to me, I know it seems like it's something small, but that's huge because it's something that my mom typically would not do, and it's something that made my dad happy, which is compromise. And that's how you show somebody that you value them and the things that they deem important, is by doing something that you might not necessarily enjoy, but you do it because you care about them and you don't want to be the only one getting something out of the relationship. Sure, you get a return on your investment, because a relationship is supposed to go both ways. A relationship is supposed to be where each partner comes out happy. I heard, what did I hear? Where a compromise is where neither party comes out 100% happy, and that's true, because somebody's giving, somebody's taking on both sides. You know, you give a little bit, you take a little bit, and you both can compromise. I didn't have that ability in my relationship of compromise. The compromise was me giving everything and him giving nothing, and that was compromise. It made him completely miserable still. He was still unhappy. Got his way, still unhappy. I've never met anyone so miserable. Thinking about the time I wasted is just funny to me because I'm fucking amazing and I wasted so much time. But anyways, yeah, I want you guys just to learn to pour into yourself and love yourself and value yourself. I feel like so often we're tiptoeing around in relationships and not being honest. Look like my bed gave birth to my dog. We're tiptoeing around people and not being honest because we're like afraid of how the other person's gonna react. It builds up resentment because there's things that I feel like couples don't say to each other, things that don't make them happy, things that are not good in the relationship, but they're so afraid to rock the boat. They would rather sit and be unhappy in it than say anything. I did say stuff. It didn't matter though. It fell on deaf ears, but I did say something. Trust me, I wasn't sitting there the whole time. But then there was a time that I was like, why am I saying anything? So we just end up doing either what he wants or nothing happens at all. But I do feel like people do sit in relationships and build resentment and don't say the things that they really need to say. Bruh, you good? You're just in the relationship and they're unhappy, but you're not saying anything about it. There could be things that bother you where you feel like, oh, well, this partner's not pulling enough of their weight. They're not doing their part in the relationship. Or I would like to be taken out more, but they're always tired. And there has to be some sort of compromise with that. You don't want to sit around and be unhappy and miserable and not communicate your needs. One thing that my dad did tell me is we don't know unless we're told. He was referring to men when he told me that, but I think it's fair to say that all people in general don't know unless they're told. It shouldn't have to be like you should know already. You should actually be okay saying whatever it is that you feel is lacking in the relationship. You should be okay with expressing that you're not happy about something in the relationship without it being a psychic game of cat and mouse of where you should have already known. We've been together X amount of years. How can you not know this? Like, if you never said it, how can you know? But if you have said it, then I understand. But if you haven't, then no one's psychic, and so no one can actually know. And there's nothing wrong with being vocal in your relationship and say, hey, I feel like in this part of our relationship we could use some work, and I feel this way and I feel that way, and is there anything that you feel like I can improve on to make our relationship better and stronger? And instead of coming off like, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this, you don't do that, and it's very accusatory. I mean, I'm like that now. Before it was very much I feel. Now I'm like, you don't do this, that's why we're not together. But that's because I don't care. But yeah, you definitely should be able to come to your partner, say these things, and be like, hey, I feel like this, I feel like that, and make it a shared space, a safe space where there's no judgment, and you guys agree to work on those things. There's nothing wrong with agreeing to work on things. It's not going to be perfect. It's okay to say, hey, is someone here? Hold on. All right, I don't know what happened. He went under the bed. I mean, it's okay to say that there's things that are not perfect in a relationship, because there's times where things aren't good in a relationship, and that's when you need to communicate the most so you can get back on track to where you want to be. Harboring resentment and just staying quiet doesn't do anything but make you upset, and you have to pretend and fake and be fraudulent about things. Some people are afraid of emotions, and so I would be one of them. Okay, I will be one of them. I'm gonna give you guys a prime example. A few days ago, me and this person do not talk anymore. He felt offended. I'm gonna give the person their actual name in this story. I don't normally do it, but I'm going to. James. So James and I, we have become friends. It's been like a month or so. As time goes on, within the last week or so before we stopped talking, he was trying to get me to open up and open up and open up. I'll be like, hey, just like right now I don't feel like talking, things are going on. Hey, right now I don't feel like talking, things are going on. So the last time he wanted to check in, it was Kimana's birthday, and I was like upset about some things that happened on that day. So when I expressed part of it, not all of it, part of it, to him, the way he responded to it, I was very offended. I was not happy with how the response went. So I was like, hey, I need to go. Okay, bye. One thing about me is when I feel like I'm being dismissed with my feelings, I already lived that life. I already feel like I've already done that thing. Or when they're being minimized. I don't like that. To me, that is something that is very triggering for me. I've already lived that life, so I don't want to go through it again. So I was just like, let me go, because this is gonna irritate me and I don't want to get angry, so let me just go. And all right, he sent me a message that he doesn't want to talk anymore because of that. Do I think it's stupid? Yeah, but I'm glad that it ended right there, because I don't really care, you know. It was already in like a weird spot that I was kind of like sort of getting uncomfortable with anyways, because he had feelings and I wasn't in that space. So it was already getting into like a weird space between us where I felt one way, he felt another. And as much as I was like, yo, I'm not in this space, I'm not looking for any of that stuff, like, no, we're good, it just got really awkward at times. So I think it was just meant to run its course, reason, season, lifetime. I guess he's a season. I wouldn't even give him a full season. That's like 3-4 months, right? Maybe a reason. But either way, he was trying to show me that I can trust and open up the opposite ended up happening, and he showed me that I need to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down and not say anything. And I just went right back. Went back into my hole because I'm like, I don't feel comfortable opening up to people. This is something that I don't do. I was trying to explain to him that that's something that I don't do. It takes a lot for me to trust people. People have betrayed my trust so many times with things that they've done when I have opened up, or I unknowingly had things happen when I do open up. So now when I do open up, I have to know that it's okay, that it might get out. Like whatever I say might get out. Somebody might say something, somebody might do something, my information might get out that I've said. So I have to be totally fine with the information that I say getting out. Usually I won't say anything more than what I would say in a video like this, because I know I'm at that level of comfort to say that. But to get deep into emotions and all that stuff, I'm really not comfortable with it unless I'm talking to y'all. Pause. Alright, so yeah, it did teach me that I do still need to work on that aspect of my life of being able to trust, of being able to open up. I'm not going to be good to anybody if I'm not able to feel comfortable with that. I'm more closed off than I realized. I consider myself to be a really open person on this platform, but in my real everyday life, I don't share much. People don't know what's going on with me from time to time. I'm always good, trust me, but I'm never good, trust me. So that's kind of how my life is I'm so much more free talking to you guys and being able to open up to y'all than the everyday Joe Schmo. I have very, very, very few people that I can just be like, yeah, this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on, blah blah blah. And no, I don't have like all that in my life, so I don't do that all that often. It did show me a point of, you know, that I do need to work on. There is some things that I'm still healing from, and I'm okay with taking the time to get to know myself and love myself and pour into myself, because love is not sacrifice. Love is not to give everything of yourself and leave yourself with nothing. And I had to learn that the hard way. So I'm okay with taking the steps to get to know me and love on me and pour into me, not taking into consideration or valuing anyone above myself and valuing anyone's opinions above myself. I spent so many years caring so much about how my grandparents viewed me. That was like the up there, you know, like way up there about my grandparents. It kept me in a position, and they didn't do it, it was me, because I wanted them to be proud of me. Kept me in a position of being unhappy because I was trying to live up to what they thought I was. I wasn't the person they thought I was at all. And I feel sad that I kept up this facade and they didn't get to know me. I am that nice, sweet person that they left, but there's a part of me too that held in a lot of resentment to that. Not because of them, it's just because I let people walk all over me and my family and treat me bad in my family in the name of family, because my grandparents held such a high value to that. And because I love them, and this is what I'm speaking on, that value became important to me too. But without them, I realized how many people in my family I quickly cut off. Someone that I was like super duper, like he was my best cousin, like a brother to me, ended up cutting off because I realized how many chances I gave and how many times I let shit slide. And then I was like, nah, I'm good. And I just had to cut him off. Whoop de whoop, blase blah, he say, she say. Oh my gosh, shut the fuck up. Ho. There's a song, I think it's called Cut You Off to Go Closer or something like that, and Kendrick Lamar. It pretty much summed up my entire family, things that happened in my family, down to my uncle, my grandparents. Like, it was crazy. Like, that song, I listened to it before even everything happened in my family, and it literally already had half of it down. And then when there's a part about talking about when grandma passed away and how the family fell apart and how nobody was close to his uncle, and like, y'all, that song. Anyway, I realized how much I just let people in the family take advantage of me and my niceness while they were living, and their values were important to me. So I made that of the utmost for me, and I don't regret it at all. I don't regret it at all. But a different part of me is emerging. There's so many different chapters that are coming, that are in my life right now, that I don't think I would be very recognizable to them because of that, you know. Different version of myself is emerging, and so that's the thing that I'm coming to terms with as well, is just that I'm still me at the core. I'm scared to let people in, I'm afraid, but I'm still me at the core. And when that person comes and they're like, yes, this is my person, I will know, and then I'll feel safe. But ultimately, it's up to me to heal me. It's no one else's responsibility, just like it's your responsibility to heal you. You have things that you need to work on, whether you're in a relationship or not. Your healing is solely up to you. No one else can do that part for you. You have to do that part for yourself, and you have to come into a relationship either whole or working on becoming whole, because it's not fair to depend on somebody else to heal you. Can they add value to your life? And that, yes, and that's the sole intention of a partner, is to add. But if you're coming halfway and they're coming halfway, together you don't make 100. You're still both 50% of the person that you are. You can add value to one another and you can help facilitate healing, but your healing is solely your responsibility. It's no one else's. So you have to work on those things. I have to work on those things because it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm healed. If I do go into another situation, I kind of been feeling like, I've been talking to my cousin, that I'm just going to be me for the rest of my days. It should be my top priority and my responsibility to make sure that I'm healed. I can't have anybody else be responsible for it. I experienced hurt, I experienced pain, and a lot of that was due to me not being brave enough, strong enough to get out of the situation that I was in, and that's solely on me too, like all that shit. So it's solely on me to dig myself out of this hole of feeling like I ain't shit, I ain't nothing, I don't matter. Well, I don't feel like that, honestly. Whatever I need to heal, I need to heal it. There are a lot of areas that I still need to work on, and so those areas need healing, and I'm gonna heal those areas. But the shit that I used to feel about myself, I don't feel that. Like the bottom of the barrel shit that I used to feel, I don't feel that anymore, which probably is why I'm okay with cutting people off, to be honest with you, because I'm okay with it due to the fact that I don't feel at a low point anymore. I don't know how much this means to me. This is not something that I share with other people. Like, for people to know that I even have this channel is very rare. It's not something that I bring up. I don't advertise it. I don't say anything about it. This is just kind of like my little private section of life where I express myself, and it's like my online diary. So I don't really share too much of this to anybody. I don't usually use tags in there because I am very secret squirrel about like this, because it is so private to me. And so much, like, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of the journey, and thank you for watching. Okay, I love you guys. I really fuck with you really heavy, and I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Mwah. Final time. Peace out.